Hello and welcome to World of Tanks with Trapsikis. I noticed and was notified that the quality on the previous recording of this video was too low and it was completely unwatchable, so I'm re-recording it, and if I do miss something or if you're still unhappy with the quality, please leave a message, leave a comment, let me know. Right, we're having a look at bigdaddyz in his AMX 1375. You'll immediately notice that he drives around zoomed in a little bit. I believe I've mentioned this in one of my previous videos as well. You should not be doing this if you don't know your tank very well, because you're going to be driving into stuff. Same goes for knowing the maps very well, because some buildings you can drive through easily and other buildings you can't. So if you're zoomed out a little bit, you will tend to get your corners stuck in buildings and stuff like that. So by all means, if you're an experienced tanker and you know your tanks and you know the maps, zoom in a little bit. This helps a lot with manual aiming. But if you're still getting to know the ropes, then zoom out all the way so you can see what you're driving into. Right, so bigdaddyz does a nice ram and a one shot on the ELC there, and takes out the Wolverine and does another shot in the Spic. So in his first magazine, he manages to do over 600 damage, including that ram on the ELC. Very nice start and very necessary. If you have a look at the map, the western half is entirely devoid of green. The enemies obviously have the option of moving up in the west and using the terrain there to avoid artillery fire while shooting at us. But because we have nobody spotting and nobody supporting, it's very difficult for us to do anything in the western flank. Now, you might think that bigdaddyz has a job to do to spot, but if you look around, there's only one TD in the western half, and he has pushed up too far, so he's not in a position to be able to provide cover fire. So if bigdaddyz moves up now and spots the 85M, T25-2 and Comet, and presumably a few other tanks there, he will only be exposing himself to fire. So by all means do a bit of spotting, but don't overextend your position so that you will die without your team taking any shots at the enemies. So bigdaddyz obviously deciding he's not going to be the guy running out and getting killed, so he's going to sit in the back here for a bit and see how the game develops. Now the AMX 1375, obviously a very adequate tier 7, but as you'll see, the view range is not quite enough to be able to spot everyone at a distance. I don't know what his equipment layout is exactly. I assume he's using vents and the binocs and camera net, as you can see there. So if he had opted for coated optics, he would have been closer to the white line, but I don't believe he would have gotten quite there. Right, so falling back to the eastern flank and supporting the heavies here. Fortunately, the enemy heavies don't have a lot of hit points left, and both shells managed to do nothing. So one very nice thing about the AMX 1375 is that your magazine reload is not that long. So a couple of times when bigdaddyz is in a position like now where you can have a couple of seconds between engagements, he reloads a clip that's not quite full. For those of you brand new to the game, press C. Now it's already reloaded and the Skoda is pushing up, but unfortunately bigdaddyz doesn't have the gun depression to punish him for that move. Right, the Skoda, the T24 obviously only having the one shell, so now bigdaddyz punishes him, but the Panzer IV volunteers to get shot instead. You'll notice bigdaddyz does something either very clever or very lucky here, where he tracked the Panzer IV, and with his next shell, after the Panzer IV has used his repair kit, he tracks him again, which means that he has no repair kit and no option to repair again, and he's stuck there while bigdaddyz does his reload. Unfortunately, a little bit of a high roll there for bigdaddyz. Manages to secure the T24. Not a high roll, sorry. Right, so even though the kills are close together, 8 versus 9, you'll see that the position on the west has gotten worse. We now occupy about a quarter of the map and the enemies the other 3/4. So even though the numbers aren't that far apart, we're in a very weak position, very difficult to defend. And of course, bigdaddyz misses the snipe on the box tank. So box tank, now we know he's on full health. 85M we know he's on low health, not exactly how low. And there's a comet pushing into the base with support. The comet also on full health. So this is actually quite a difficult situation to be in. And bigdaddyz, not the guy to run away from a fight, turns back to the friendly cap circle to defend. But as he approaches it, he decides to swerve out. This is a very clever move. Instead of running in behind your allies and facing the guns of your enemies, he's taking a flanking approach so that the enemies will be pointing in a different direction, allowing bigdaddyz time to unload his magazine. Nice to eliminate the comet there, but unfortunately he doesn't roll high enough on this pick and has to take 2 shots to eliminate him, allowing him opportunity to shoot back. Right, doing very well. 2 more kills secured, and now the situation is not quite as desperate anymore. We know the box tank is on full health. We don't know the health of the 25-2, and the 85M is on low health. So the 2 supporting artillery there being the only wild card, but the terrain here providing some cover at least. Now you'll notice the comet is flanking around, and bigdaddyz has to use this opportunity to take out the T-25-2 without allowing him to damage our friendly tanks too much. So the 25-2 reverses, and that artillery shell barely misses bigdaddyz, fortunately not taking any more of his hit points. And now he pushes up to stop the 25-2 from doing too much damage to the friendly comet. But as you see on the minimap, the box tank has arrived, and the comet is not long for this world. So now we're in a 1 versus 4 situation, but fortunately 2 of the 4 are artillery, and the 85M here is a 1-shot. And of course, as Murphy would have it, the first shot bounces, and the 85M Rosgood, who did a very good job in this game, manages to take off a track. And here, bigdaddyz does another clever thing. Instead of moving forward like the artillery, who was obviously aiming at him, would have expected, he moved back and managed to avoid the incoming shell. So now, difficult situation, 1 versus 3, 2 artillery pieces, but one of them is quite fast. That FE304, even though it's been nerfed, is still quite a fast artillery. So at this point, you can't be sure who is in cap. If it's the box tank, the FE304 can join him and there won't be a lot of time. But if it's only 1 on cap and nobody's going to join him, then there might be enough time to flank around and look for the artillery pieces. What to do? I was in a similar situation in a game recently, and I decided to try to eliminate the TDs that were supporting and managed to give away the cap. So when in doubt, always reset. Okay, so the flanking maneuver, bigdaddyz did not quite find the artillery pieces, or piece, depending on if they've moved, and now he decides to go back to cap and reset. Plenty of time to spare. This is a good move. Right, so you'll also notice bigdaddyz uses a lot of auto drive, which helps a lot in glancing around and trying to figure out where your enemies might be. Alright, so once again, not taking the obvious route, and fortunately the FE304 misses him, because to lose your tracks now would be a bad thing. Right, so now bigdaddyz has to reload his magazine while 2 tanks are trying to shoot at him, and he uses the box tank as armor. Very good move, bigdaddyz. When I saw this, I burst out laughing. It was such a nice dance to witness. Now he's reloaded, he can take out the box tank, and the FE304 misses once again. Fortunately, the artillery at short range does not have a very great aiming time, but I believe bigdaddyz can be quite lucky that yet again the FE304 misses him, and he had time to reload his magazine. Now it's a 1 versus 1. M41 recently fired, but you don't know how long ago, so rather get arty safe, like bigdaddyz is demonstrating here. Wait for yourself to be not spotted, and then decide which direction you're going to go. So now, I was still witnessing the game, and I asked the question that's rather obvious, but I did want bigdaddyz to be thinking of the position of the enemy arty. So I asked him, where did he hit you from? So that he would think about the direction and try to figure out where the arty would be. Just in case, you never know. It looks like he figured it out himself, but that's the kind of comment that is perhaps useful. Right, so now 1 versus 1, and he's 2 tiers higher than the M41, but a splash could still take him out, so by no means the end of the game. And he's doing the wise thing again, flanking around all the way to the back to perhaps find the side or rear of the artillery. I'm just going to speed it up a little bit. And it looks like the M41 didn't even spot bigdaddyz in return, which allows him time to aim properly and take him out. Very well done, bigdaddyz, and thank you so much for the carry. Let's have a look at the post-game plates. On the personal stats, the ace tanker is no surprise. Then we've got the Radley Walters medal, Pascucci, Defender, High Caliber, and Top Gun, and the Hand of God, which is quite a rare one with the AMX 1375 because it's got such poor armor. In the team details, you'll see that only the Rosgood, the 85M on the opposite team, was able to do more than half of bigdaddyz damage, with that monstrous 8 kills for bigdaddyz. Very impressive. And the base experience of 1413, very well done. And I am surprised to see that the interface does not say max, so I'm not quite sure if this means that bigdaddyz has done better. I don't think so. I think it's simply that what replace doesn't take into account your personal achievements. Even though he's not running a premium account, he managed to rake in nearly 20,000 credits profit. And if you look at the shots fired versus penetrations, 26 penetrations out of 32 shots fired, and consider that a lot of those shots were on the move, that is a very impressive percentage indeed. bigdaddyz, once again, thank you for the carry, and thank you for watching.